Greetings, family. We are live. Welcome, welcome. It is Wisdom Wednesday, and I'm absolutely delighted to be in the house. I've got a fantastic, bombastic, blacktastic guest for you this evening, our brother, Leo Muhammad. And so, it's always such an honor, such a privilege to have a great, such as our beloved, in the house. And so please do share the link. Let everyone know that we are now live on the Sister Shanice show. To those of you who don't know, I'm also a radio presenter, and I would be honored if you were to join me on my radio shows. I go live every Wednesday at 9 a.m. UK time on the Big G Galaxy P.O.W.E.R, the only de-brainwashing station. So if you go to Zeno or if you go to the website, you just put in galaxyaphiwi.com. Galaxy Aphiwi, and the radio station will come up. So join me every Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and on alternative Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And hopefully you do keep checking this YouTube channel as well, because I do try and put up content fairly regularly. And to those of you who already have my book, either The Coconut Trees or the book about a Black king of a Black king of Anglo-Saxon England, King Offa. Thank you so much. If you haven't already got it, please do check it out and read and enjoy. It's about our history here in Britain, and there is so much history that we've got here. Oh my days, it wasn't until I started doing the research that I realized that we are the indigenous people of Britain. We are the original people in this side of the world. We are the founding fathers. We were the ones who created the civilization that has been built on. And so, when we were being told, go home, had we known better, we could have told them, we are home, you go home, and back to the Caucasus Mountains. There's so much that we can find out about ourselves when we do our digging and we do our history. Digging into our history. To all the Patreon supporters, thank you so much. I so appreciate love each and every one of you. If you've yet to become a Patreon supporter, please do join me on Patreon and support the works. So much more that I want to be able to do. And with your help, you will make it possible. So thank you in advance. So family, each and every one of us, I know sometimes I meet family members when I'm out and about, and I just want to encourage each of you. As you encourage me, I want to encourage you, to pursue your gift, to pursue your goals. Each and every one of us, we have been sent here on this planet with our gifts and our talents, and it's all got to be towards the upliftment of our race and our people. So to those of you who are out there fulfilling your goals and your purpose, big up yourself. For those of you who are yet to identify your dreams and your purpose and your goals, go into that place and ask, the ancestors what your gifts are, what you've been sent here to do, and what your role is during these times, and the answer will come back to you. Right, hopefully I've rattled on long enough to give you a bit of a chance to come through the door and join us here on the Sister Shanice Show channel. I want to be able to bring my guest on board. Yes, let's go over to the chat. We've got Hazel in the house. Welcome, Hazel. Sister Hazel saying peace and blessings, my beloved sister. Peace and blessings, black at you, sis. Thank you for joining us today. Sister Afrijamo is in the house, watching us all the way from Ghana. Welcome. Mondele is in the house. Yenge Mpa Kiambote, beloved Mondele. Good evening, he says to all the brothers and sisters. Welcome, Leon. Welcome to each and every one of you. If you're in the house and watching, please drop us a message in the chat. Let us know you're in the house. Let us know where in the world you are watching us from, because we are ready to go live. We've got a hot topic for you today. Let's bring on our guest, none other than our beloved brother Leo Muhammad. Here he is. How you doing, brother Leo?
I'm very well by the grace and mercy of Allah, my dear sister. Thank you so much for your kind and gracious invitation to once again be a part of the Sister show.
Oh, we are
Thank you,
honored
thank
to
you.
have you. You know, we have so much love for you, brother, and we're so grateful to the God you serve for looking after you, for preserving you, for taking care of you, to giving you strength to do all that you do. You know, we honor your God for you as well. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time out. I know how busy you are. Your channel has just gone, whoa, I love it.
Yeah, things are happening. Things are happening. Slowly but surely, we're getting there, beloved. We're getting on top
You're on the
of the
speed
modern
train. You're on the
technology.
slowly but surely. You're two models. Tell
Yes.
the family about your channel and what one this and when you go live.
So yeah, that's tomorrow evening. Every Thursday evening, we go live at 6:30 GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. We go live on Zoom and also on YouTube. And the name of the show is Image and Nation. Image and Nation. When you put it all together, you have that magnificent concept of imagination. And what we try to do on the show is that we really try to encourage our brothers and sisters to reignite their imagination, because with imagination, whatever you can conceive or see within your mind's eye, you can bring it into reality. And what we want our people to do is to really appreciate that we do not have to operate within the confines of somebody else's paradigm, somebody else's reality, which unfortunately is what most of us have been doing for the last 500 years, that we've been under the oppression and under the yoke of white supremacy and white European constructs. And so if we can begin once again to ignite that original, that African, that Black imagination, that Black creative force, then we can change our reality without looking externally to any other entity to be of assistance to us. We can do this for ourselves. And it begins with having a healthy, imaginative concept where one can see for oneself and one can become self-determinant in life. So this is what the show is all about. And as you said, my sister, we've been having a lot of, we also go to Hyde Park
Yeah.
in London, Speaker's Corner. And we've been having a lot of mud thrown at us down at Hyde Park, a lot of negativity with the audience who really don't like to hear truth. But what has happened is that as a result of some of these negative elements in Hyde Park, because they have big followings on YouTube, they're YouTubers basically. They're not really sincere, religious or political activists or whatever. They've been slinging a lot of mud, but what they don't understand is that when you sling mud, it's not always, women know all about this, because women, they would sometimes use a mud pack to get rid of the blemishes and to clean the skin, to draw out all of the impurities. And
Yeah.
so mud is not always negative. Mud can be used in a very positive way. And because of the mudslinging recently, we find that a lot of people have been searching for Brother Leo Muhammad, the Nation of Islam, the Image of Nation show. And so our viewership has increased somewhat of late. So we're very happy. We thank the Creator. There's a wonderful story that the Honorable Minister Farrakhan relays to us based on the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, where he teaches us that there was once a donkey who fell into a ditch, and a lot of people would come by, and instead of trying to help the donkey out of the ditch, they would continuously throw stones at the donkey. And the more stones they threw, the more the ditch filled up, and ultimately the donkey was able to run out of that ditch. And so we're not too concerned about the stone slingers or the mud slingers, because ultimately all of it is going to work to our benefit.
And it certainly is. So may they continue slinging mud and generating a lot of interest, and do your marketing for you. They're getting your name out there and your channel out there for you. So absolutely fantastic that, it's giving you the audience that you deserve to have. so that you
That's
can
right.
spread the word and your messages. Rise up. I want to rise up your queen as well, Sister Gloria. Rise up yourself. Claudia, rise up yourself, you and your family. We want to rise you all up. I want to thank your family as well for allowing you to have the time to share with us today.
Thank you.
So yes, wonderful story that is about the donkey, and they're just piling up the mud, and as they throw it, you just step on it and keep rising, keep rising.
Right. Keep rising to the top. Keep rising to the top.
Okay.
And Sister Claudia has become an integral part of the Image and Nation show as well. We share the platform together, and it's wonderful to have that support by my side each and every week.
And it looks beautiful too, it portrays, it gives us a little insight into the Black family, the Black couple, which is just so beautiful, so keep doing what you're doing.
And it's needed, Sister Shanice. It's really needed because unfortunately, again, it's quite a rare thing now to see the Black man and woman in harmony, in unity, and really working together. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. We're taught in the popular media that on September the 11th, 2001, the Twin Towers came down in New York. But in reality, the reality is that it was in 1555 when John Hawkins came on a ship named Jesus to the African continent that the real Twin Towers fell, and that was the Black man and the Black woman. That was the original Twin Towers. Those two, when those two are together, when those two unite, when those two move the unit, sister, it is impossible to stop the rise of the Black community. Black man and woman operate as one, it's all over. It's all over.
That is the powerhouse right there. That's why society do all they can to keep us divided, to keep us separated, because they know only too well the power that comes from that union. Wow. Spot on. And you know what, beloved? What really pleased me yesterday, I don't remember the days now. Yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? Yesterday. Oh my gosh. There was an incident in Peckham, which, some of our viewers may already be aware of, whereby an Asian shopkeeper stranglehold one of our sisters in his shop. She went to the shop, she made a purchase, and for whatever reason, she brought back what she bought and demanded a refund. He refused to give her a refund. She decided she's going to help herself to what she felt the value of the refund ought to be. He took offense to that, and to stop her from leaving, grabbed the woman from round her throat and dragged her in the shop. That incident was captured on video, and it went viral. And when I saw it, I was just so hurt. You know why? Because as a Black woman, sometimes I have to ask, who's there for us? Who's there for us? There's another Black woman in the background who was watching. There's a couple of Black guys around, but they didn't immediately get involved. No one got involved and stopped that Asian shopkeeper from assaulting the sister. So, I was like, who's there for us? Who's there for us? So I was delighted when I got a message to say there's going to be a demonstration outside the shop. So I was there and speaking to some of the brothers, and it warmed my heart. The brothers turned up, and the brothers who were there were like, we're here for our sisters. We're here for you. Touch one, touch all. It was beautiful. So I want to rise up all the brothers that were there, all the sisters that turned out as well. I did a video of it. It's out there on my Facebook and on my YouTube channels for those who may not be aware of what happened. But, Brother Leo, I wonder if you can comment from your perspective on what happened. I know you must have seen the video. It went viral. I think most of us looked at it. What went through your mind when you saw what you watched, and what do you think needs to happen now as a result of that, please?
Yes, my sister. I really wish I could say to you that when I saw those images that I was surprised. I wish I could say that this was an unusual occurrence. I wish I could say that, this is something that is highly unusual within the Black community, or when it comes to inter racial relationships when it comes to blacks and Asians. Many years ago, back in the middle 90s, we had to go to Birmingham because not only did the Asians at that time in their shop, in another hair shop, by the way, assault a sister, but it was also a sexual assault that took place in the back of the shop where they believed that she was shoplifting. And in order for her to leave the shop, they insisted on sexually assaulting her. And we went down there in force and we were demanding that the Black community boycott that shop. And so I mentioned that because you see, sister, that was the 90s. And I remember at that time we were saying to our people, we really ought not to be even spending our money in these places. Okay. But I remember at the time we were boycotting the shop. We basically stood outside the shop for several days. It went on for several weeks. And as a result, a lot of our people were not going in there and were actually stopping other people from going in there. But at the same time, we witnessed a sister go into the shop, going past the picket line that we had created, you know, insisting that she was going in there. And even when she went in there, the Asians in the shop were saying, we don't want your money, get out, we don't want your money. Now she's insisting to the Asian, no, you've got to take my money. And this is the devastating reality of ignorance, where the people disrespect us over and over again. You give these people money in their hand, they put your change on the counter. This has been going on for years, but yet we refuse as a people to have our own, to open our own shops, to provide our own ackee and saltfish, to provide our own breadfruit, to provide our own planting, and so on and so forth. And we allow Asians to corner the market on those things that we need or those things that we use. And as a result, you see, my dear sister, whenever we are a people who are just consumers and non-producers, we make ourselves vulnerable and we make ourselves susceptible to disrespect. You know, I was just having a conversation with my wife this morning talking about negotiation and how you don't go into any negotiation with an empty hand. The only way you go into a negotiation, especially if you're going to negotiate with a powerful entity, is that you must have something of your own that you're bringing to the table that can match or equalize to what your opponent had. And that way they will take notice of you and show you a modicum of respect as you negotiate whatever it is being negotiated. Unfortunately, as a Black community today, we're going into a lot of these situations empty-handed. We're going almost like beggars. We're going as consumers, non-producers, and we're expecting these people to treat us with respect. It's never going to happen. They're never going to treat us as equals. They're never going to treat us with the respect that we deserve because we have not determined for ourselves that we're going to do for ourselves. We keep going to our open enemies and expecting them to treat us in a manner prescribed. No. And so when I saw it, it was very disturbing. And because, again, they only would do that to our women. If that was a white woman, I can assure you, he would not have put his hand on her, even within the greater society at the present time. There's a huge debate going on popular radio like LBC and in the popular media, the mainstream media today. And the discussion or the conversation is about shoplifting and why the big supermarkets appear to be struggling to control shoplifters, and how the security guards are under instruction now that they can't even touch the shoplifters. And so you have teams of shoplifters who go into shops now and basically just steal stuff, and they're allowed to walk out because nobody's allowed to touch them. You cannot physically put your hand on them because next thing you know, you'd be on a charge of assault. And so this is the reality. So you see, for that individual to even have the audacity, not only to be apprehending our sister, but to be physically strangling her in the manner in which he was doing. And if you look at the size of him, he was at least 6'2", 6'3", which is a small sister. What it shows is that there is absolutely no regard. My wife is saying that there's some feedback there's like she's not able to hear properly because there's some type of.
Let me turn off my radio. Let me put myself on mute, and please ask her to tell me if it sounds better if I'm on mute.
Yes, I will do. There's some type of repeat thing going on. I mean, that sounds better because I could hear something all the time when I was speaking, but I can't hear it now. So yeah, you know, my sister, unfortunately, and then at the same time, you will have noticed that, you know, I wasn't there on the demonstration because again, and it's not, I really wasn't able to be there because I was somewhere else. I was doing some other activities, but nonetheless, you see, what we've also got to do as a people is we've got to, I'm getting a thumbs up from Sister Claudia, so the problem has been resolved. So, you know, what we've also got to do is we've got to stop being a reactionary people, reacting from one incident to the next incident, rather than becoming a proactive people who, because of our activities in building unity and building community and building our own shops, we need to supply our own goods, you know, and this is not that difficult in truth. You know, we can do these things if we can put aside some of the petty differences that keep us apart as a people. Then we would be able to begin to make changes and be a proactive people rather than a reactive people, be it, you know, to this Asian thug who accosted our sister, or the police strip searching 15-year-old children, black children, or, you know, any amount of different incidents that happen on a daily basis, which shows the level of disrespect that still presides over black and black communities. So yeah, it was disgusting. And but it will keep happening, unfortunately, until we learn to do for ourselves, and we learn and you know, we get back that that relationship between the black man and the black woman, where our women are not out there vulnerable by themselves, you know, to be abused by anybody. The Asians, the whites, everybody's got to learn that we are in love with one another, that we honor and we respect our women, and we put them on the pedestal where they belong, because without you, without the black woman, we could not be. And so until we reassess, you know, our relationships internally as a people, and start to act appropriately, because, you know, the black man, really right now, we're very guilty, sister, very guilty of being very negligent when it comes to our women and our children. And yeah, we can pretend that, you know, oh, we're there and whatever. We come out on a demonstration, some one-off thing, and then we all go back to sleep. But that doesn't really count. We've really got some work to do as black men and as a black community.
Thank you so much. You know, I wholeheartedly agree with everything that you've said there. And, you know, I've just picked up on some of the comments in the chat as well. Thank you, everybody, for your comments. I'm looking at them. Shez is letting us know that the shop was closed today as well, and that she will be attending every day because there's going to be demonstrations daily from 12 p.m. So there's also a call for another demonstration on Saturday at 2 p.m. Okay, so the protests and the demonstrations are continuing. We were informed by the police yesterday that the young woman who had been arrested was released. This whole association of shoplifting with the incident is you know, to tarnish the image of the young girl and to try and misrepresent what actually took place. She was not shoplifting at all. She'd actually purchased something and she wanted a refund, and they were refusing a refund, and she decided to take goods to the value of her refund. She was not shoplifting at all. And so, you know, if you're listening to any of the other radio stations or if you're involved in any chats and they try to suggest that that's the case, family, please knock it back. That definitely was not the case. So yeah, if you want to come and join us on the demonstration, if you can't come during the days running up to Saturday, then please do come on Saturday. It would be wonderful, wonderful to have you in the house. Kwame Aboje is saying that the Asian boy should be prosecuted. Absolutely. The police said that he will be arrested, and it has been reported that they have, you know, taken him into the station for questioning about the incident. He absolutely does need to be prosecuted because, you know, the incident is recorded on video. He assaulted the woman. But, you know, what was beautiful to me about that presentation was, you know, that feeling of community, our people coming together, our men turning out to support us as women. Because as I was saying, sometimes I feel, you know, who's there for us? And as you said, you know, we do need to have our own businesses. Absolutely. I've got a message from Brother Kofi today who might actually be watching us as well. Let me read his message and what he says. He's not in the UK. And so he says, he said here, the next in line is about what the Africans and the blacks in the UK have to do is to boycott all Asian businesses. He says, how can you be buying your African products from an Asian in the UK? He said, I don't understand you, my people. I really don't get it. The power to change things is within you, your hands, and in your community, but you refuse to recognize it, and worse still, refuse to use it. How can an African black buy from an Asian shop or eat in an Asian restaurant in the UK where Africans and blacks are everywhere? He says, I still just don't get it, you know. And I have an artist that I interviewed recently called Teacher D, and he's got a track called How Can You Be Thirsty When You're Sitting by the Well, you know? And yeah, we know the system is against us. We know they lock us down at every turn. We know they frustrate our efforts, but somehow we're going to have to rise against it. And the key is absolutely in our unity and in us coming together. I'm sure we all know of businesses, nightclubs, restaurants, and shops and the likes that have tried. And then you get the council with their licensing committees, you know, imposing restrictions on the nightclubs so that they can't get the late night license. They take back their drinks license. The shops, you know, we don't operate as a syndicate, whereas the Asians do. They'll have like 10, 20 shopkeepers who come together and they'll buy en masse as a syndicate. And so, you know, they can actually sell products what we buy the products for at the wholesalers. So if we're buying it much higher, we're going to have to charge much higher prices. And our people, you know, they don't understand, you know, the economics to the extent I think that we all ought to. But, you know, if you spend £1.20 in a black man shop, you're denying that, you know, an Asian selling something for £1, a black man selling it for £1.20. What a lot of our people is a 20p difference. They don't see the £1 that they're giving to the Asian instead of giving to the black man. But if we all still stick with that black man and build up his shop, then he will in time be able to purchase goods at a lower cost and then be able to sell them on to us at a lower cost. And by building him, you know, we're also building our community. A comment that was said on the march as well by a couple of young people was like, where's the Stormzy's? Where's the gigs and the like? They should have their supermarkets on our high street. They should be the ones who are running these stores because, you know, it's a huge investment. It takes quite a bit of capital to invest in a store to get the amount of products in there so that our people have got the selection and the range to select from. But, you know, we should have a Gigs hair shop and a Stormzy hair shop and all the other, you know, hair shops and supermarkets and everything else in our community. So we need to be appealing to them, to open up the stores and employing our young people in their stores, so that we can also be purchasing goods from Africa and the Caribbean, because we want to eat our food that's shipped in from Africa, that's shipped in from the Caribbean. And in so doing, not only are we getting the food that's going to be nutritious for us, but we're creating jobs and opportunities back in our country. A final comment on this point is about the Asians as well. We was talking about it on my show today, and we were saying about the caste system that they have and that they operate in India as well, which is a system that maybe a lot of us don't actually know about. But, they have this system in place, a bit like apartheid, but it's got colorism attached to it, where they believe in their minds that, the whites are at the top and they're underneath the whites, and then the darker ones and the darkest ones are at the bottom. The darkest ones at the bottom, they used to call the untouchables, but they now call them the Daleks or something, the Daleks. And they're the untouchables. That's why sometimes when they give you the change as a black person, they don't want to touch your hand, because they believe that, they're not supposed to touch you. You're the untouchable. You're the scum of the earth. You should be underneath their feet. And sometimes some of us can even see the scorn that they seem to have on their face. But, we don't understand where it's coming from. It's inbred within their culture. So when they look at us, they're seeing, dirt, literally, and many of us don't realize that the contempt with which they hold for us as a people, all the more reason why we need to do for self. And that's why the African family needs to come together, because, businesses, the strongest businesses are the family businesses. So we need to start encouraging our young people to come together, have plenty babies, plenty children, so those children can grow up and be the managers and the accountants and the ones who are running the shops and the businesses with you. And we are the ones, who are going to have to do it and leave it for our children, to take on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
anyway,
absolutely. And just a quick thing on that, in terms of the racism of the Asians against blacks. You see, even the celebrated Mahatma Gandhi, when you study his history, a lot of our people would be very surprised to learn that this man was a rabid racist. Rabid, I mean, not some mild-mannered racist, but he was a real hater of black people. And, when he was campaigning on behalf of Indians, be it in South Africa or in the Indian subcontinent or wherever he was, he made sure that he made a distinction between blacks and Asians. And he had the most vicious comments to make about blacks. He referred to blacks as kafirs, non-believers, and basically the worst of the worst. And this man was a rabid racist. And so sometimes, when I listen to some of us, we love to quote Gandhi, and, Gandhi said this and Gandhi said that, because again, this narrative has been fed to us through the prism of, a Eurocentric educational curriculum or media. And so we don't really study for ourselves to understand that this is not something that's just in a vacuum, just happening now. It's been very long standing, and that caste system is very, very deep. It's very, very deep. And the darker you are, according to these Indians and their thinking, is the more filthy and dirty you are, and the more you are untouchable and to be avoided. And so, again, we just as black people, we have to develop a proud to be black mentality. We have to begin to look in that mirror, man, and realize that you're looking at the most beautiful thing you will ever see when you see your reflection. And we got to stop expecting other people to love us more than we love ourselves. It's all about self-love. It's all about us really appreciating who we are, gaining that real knowledge of self and understanding why these Asians and Caucasians are so envious and so jealous that they will have this type of hatred. It is not because you are inferior, black man, black woman, black child. It is because you have something, because we are the mothers and fathers of civilization, because they know that they had to come from us, that we are the first, we are the original, that we are the people who gave the planet civilization. Because they know this, and the wise among them know this, they will continuously perpetuate this idea of us being inferior. And unfortunately, so many of us will get on the back foot in front of these people and start to act out and play out that stereotype, when in reality, they are the inferior ones, which is why they do the nastiness that they do, or they attempt to do, against Black people. And what we have to do, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that business is warfare. See, again, most of us as people, we think that it's just about opening up a shop on the high street, we get some money, and maybe we think we're going to get a grant from the council or from some other entity within the system. No, we have to pool resources. We have to pool our monies together and open our own business. But understand this, if you open a business on the high street or anywhere, you better have some soldiers, you better have an army, you better have backup. We better have community that's going to support that business, because it's warfare. Business is warfare. And, we've had experience of this where we opened shops in the past, and the Asian would literally come in the shop taking pictures of our prices and everything. And then he would go down the road into his shop and undercut whatever it was that we were selling. They would go to the wholesalers and tell the wholesalers that if they supplied us with goods, they would take their business elsewhere, because it's warfare. But Black people don't necessarily appreciate, what's going on. So you just got to understand that the fact that we don't have so much infrastructure in this country, for instance, in the UK, it's not by accident, it's by design. We have been literally kept out of the marketplace deliberately, because, I'm going to close on this, Sister Shanice, but, as a people, we are really an awesome, awesome people. I just really want us to understand that, you see, when you see Black people in 2023, and even though we are struggling and, there's problems or whatever, do we appreciate what we're looking at and what we have been confronted with, what we've been through, how we lost our names, our language, our culture, our God, everything that undergirds a human being to make a human being strong and prosperous was removed, denied us. Do we appreciate just how powerful we are to even still be on the playing field? Do we understand that once upon a time, Black people were not permitted to play tennis? But as soon as they let a Black woman into tennis in the 1930s, by the way, I think it was 1937, she went straight to Wimbledon and won. As soon as they let a Black man in the 70s, Arthur Ashe, he went straight to Wimbledon and won. As soon as they let a Black man into Formula One, he goes straight to the top and becomes the master of that. As soon as you let a Black man into golf, he goes straight to the top. Once upon a time, we weren't allowed to box against white men. We couldn't fight white men. But let Black people in, Jack Johnson into boxing. Now they're running around trying to find a great white hope, because we dominate every field of endeavor that we're allowed to operate on an even playing field, man. And it's the same in business. Anything that we were to put our minds to and go into, we're going to go to the top. We're going to go to the top of it. And this is what they know. And so we put ourselves at a disadvantage as a people by not recognizing that strength, by looking at ourselves as weak because we're looking at what we don't have. But what we should look at and appreciate is if there was any other people on the planet who had to endure what we've had to endure, they would be dead. They wouldn't even be here. The fact that we are here and still trying to compete, albeit on an individual level, see, but you can't do it on an individual level. We've got to unite. We've got to come together. We've got to pool resources, because collectively we're very rich people. A lot of money goes through our hands, but unfortunately, it doesn't stay in the Black community. It goes right, as soon as it comes into the Black community. I think they say for the Jewish community, the pound stays approximately 30 days. For the Asians, it stays around 15, 20 days. Other communities, it goes around, 10, 15 days or whatever. In the Black community, the pound stays for approximately 6 hours. 6 hours before we put it right back into somebody else's hand that don't look like us and don't have our best interest at heart. And every time we give a black man a pound, we want to know where I go do with it, where I go do with it, where I do with it. Come on, man, stop it. The black man's going to do the same thing that any other person that you give that pound to is going to do with it. He's going to invest it, save it, or spend it. But stop worrying so much about what your brother or sister is going to do and just support your brother and sister. You know, so yeah, it's a very important subject, sister. And hopefully we are waking up. You know, there's some wonderful things happening on the African continent right now. And, you know, I think that we may have finally produced the generation, the Joshua generation, that is no longer afraid of the giants in the land, and that they are willing to say to the giants, be it France, England, America, Germany, whoever, get out. Get out. And understand this, you see, because I think some of us are afraid that, oh, yeah, but what are we going to do if France leaves, or if Britain leaves, or if we haven't got America, you know, then we're going to, look, man, there is no suffering that we can endure that we have not endured already. And so stop it. Yeah, we may have to go through some more privation and not using certain things that comes from them. But I can assure you, what we have, they need more than what we need, what they have. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, they're taking uranium out of Niger and selling it on the market for $200 while they were paying us 80 cents for that same $200 worth of uranium. But now with the advent of Ibrahim Traore and these other young warriors, you know, things are about to change. And I've got to say, I'm very, very proud and very happy of these Africans who are now standing up. And by the way, those of us in the diaspora, don't think that we can just be bystanders looking on and clapping our hands and cheering like we're looking at our favorite football team. We got to get into it because this is global Africa. We've got to understand that when Africa is at war, when Africa is fighting, we've got to be in the fight. We've got to be a part of that struggle. And it's all for one and one for all, not just in terms of a sister getting abused in a shop, but in terms of the global change that is afoot. And we've got to recognize that we've got to be a part of that change as well. So, you know, I'm excited about what's going on, because despite a lot of the negativity, there's some really positive things afoot, some really positive things taking place, my dear sister Shanice.
These are indeed exciting times, and I'm so glad to be alive during these times, to be part of the revolutionary change that we see happening. Wow, we've been on a journey, as you were saying. We certainly have been on a journey. I was noting it earlier today. I was saying from slavery to segregation, from segregation to equality, from equality to integration, which is very, very wrong, from integration back into modern slavery. Well, now we're on a journey out from modern slavery, and I'm hoping it's to independence, because that's what we've got to be working towards now, our total independence. Brother Leo, I wonder if you could turn the volume down on your computer, maybe just a couple of notches.
Yeah.
Just getting a little bit extra feedback, you know, that reverb at the end when it sounds just a little too loud. I think mine was too loud as well. I turned mine down. Let me hear.
Is that any better now?
Yeah, it's better. I can still hear it slightly at the end. I think it's to do with the speaker.
We can make these adjustments. I've got a very, very beautiful microphone here, so it is very sensitive, and it does pick up everything. So
powerful.
hopefully that will be a little bit better.
Yes, maybe it's a little too close, the microphone.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's quite a distance away from me.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, just turn it down a touch then, please, beloved, and we'll work with that. Yeah, so thanks for the feedback there, family. And I want to rise up a couple of people in the chat. I see we've got Brother Jeff in the house. Oh, we haven't had Brother Jeff in the house for a little while. Brother Jeff used to be a regular caller on our radio shows. Brother Jeff, we miss not hearing you on the radio shows. And thank you so, so much for your financial gifts as well that you've poured into the chat. Thank you so much for those. Let me see the questions that you have posed in those gift chats. So it says, greetings, Sister Shanice and my beloved brother Leo. I can confirm that Sister Shanice is correct. I was talking with my Pakistani friend at work, and he told me that his community form cooperatives. There we go. You know, that is the way forward. We can't try and do it on our own. Brother Akram, who rings my shows regularly, is always telling us we've got to start coming together as cooperatives. And we need to have larger families as well, because, you know, families, when they work well together, can do brilliant in business, because, you know, growing up, you really get to know each other. You know each other's ways, don't you? The good ways and the bad ways. And so when you go into family business with your family, you know the ones that are good with the accounts, you know the ones that are not good with the money because they'll just spend it all, you know the ones, you know, who will get up early and do the business, and you know the ones who will stay till late because they're late risers, you know. So you know each other as family members, and so you know you can then put the best of each other to the wheel to make things work. So we have absolutely got to do more. And you know, Brother Leo, as you was talking about and reminding us about what's happening out there on the continent of Africa, and the Nigerians telling the French to get out, and Burkina Faso that's already got rid of the French, and Mali, etc. You know, I just felt like, you know, we should be saying to the Asians on our high street, get out, get out of Peckham, get out of our high street and take over those shops, you know. But we've got to be ready. We've got to be ready to step in and take over. And when I say ready, family, as well, we've got to be ready in our minds. We've got to be ready to make that sacrifice. It means if we live 3 miles away, we've got to be ready to make that journey so that we can spend our pounds in that black shop. You know, we've also got to be ready consciously so that we understand and understand the importance of maybe even paying that little bit more to be able to shop in a black shop. And then when we do shop in a black shop, we need our people to make the experience a pleasant one as well. We don't want to go in a restaurant and say, oh, what you want?
Vex food. Yeah. And even and it's not even, and to be honest with you, again, it's not even about saying to them, get out, but it's about us just not going into their shops and buying nothing.
Yeah.
We've got to boycott these shops.
Yeah.
Not just that single hair shop, all of them. Stop going into these hair shops. Keep your money in your pocket. Find a black person. Find a beautiful African sister who can do your hair. Find a black person who's my wife is doing hair products right now. You know what I mean? And they're very, very beautiful. These are things which are all natural, very, very good for the scalp, very, very good for the hair. You know what I mean? Nature's Hair Products is her company, and people all the way from America order her products and whatever. She's got the butters and the different hair oils for the beard, for the men's beards, and you name it, she does it. But the point is that, you know, we won't necessarily look to our own. We're used to going into these Asians who are disrespecting us every single time we go in there. No,
we've got to change our shopping habits.
We've got to say, stop, man, stop. Just don't go in there no more. And let them, and you soon see how quick these things will fold, because it's us who keep them going. That's why they stop all the things that we use.
We did it successfully to a shop called Ash. We had a butcher shop in Peckham by the name of Ash Butchers. And they were closed down for a while by the environmental health in Southwark, because they were found to be selling rat-infested meat to the people. And they were also found to have had a pool of something. So the water was so murky and so dirty in there that they couldn't even make out, you know, what was in there. And there was cockroaches that was around and over the food that they were selling us. This only came out because of that health and safety inspection that was done, that they failed. And it only it was only put out by them because they were told to clean up and they didn't. And it was because they didn't clean up why they were closed down, and the notice was put on the shop. I picked it up quite early on, and I did a video on it and was stopping people in the street and drawing their attention to it. And the video went viral, and nobody shopped in there. Everybody boycotted it because these people were making us ill. Sometimes, granny sick, mother ill, father ill, and you don't know what's wrong with them. And the food you buy from them shop there. And the next thing is, we've got we among our beautiful African brothers and sisters from the continent, they've got this thing in Peckham where, them buy so much meat. Yeah, they have to fill up a shopping trolley with all the meat that they bought from the Asian shop. And then the Asian man pushes the trolley down the road to their car. And the way they walk and the way they go on when the Asian man push the trolley, for them, it's like a prestige thing. It's like they must say, everybody, look at me, look how much meat they buy. Look how the trolley full up of meat. But what they don't realize is that meat is what's making them sick.
Contaminated.
That meat is what's contaminating and poisoning them. Yes, we have to stop buy from people who don't look like us, don't like us, and want to poison us.
That's right. That's right.
But, beloved, I could be talking all night with you and we've got family members in the chat as well, trying to get in on the conversation. Apologies for not bringing you in. First, I'm saying reality is they want us to stay in the physical realm for our spiritual problems. So yes, there is a war going on. It's on the physical, it's on the spiritual level, most definitely. And there's an economic war that's been waged against us as well as the people. They don't want us to prosper. They don't want us to rise. And the Asians and the Europeans are working hand in hand to try and make sure their level best that doesn't happen. Brother Leo, let me introduce you officially to the audience, and let's open up the conversation that you've come to talk to us about today. So first of all, though, let me just welcome you again to the Sister Shanice Show platform. We are honored, myself and my audience, we are honored to have you in the house. We love you. We think very highly of you. We know you're a man who loves your people, and we know that you're a man who wants to see your people rise and to be on top. And we just love our brother Leo. Brother Leo is a community activist, public speaker, comedian, and he's also a spiritual leader as well. And, he's a man who's been talking to us in the past about the message to the black man. And, he's concerned about our present and our future and who we are as a people. And he's all about nation building as well. He wants to see us as a people around the world, build nations and to grow and rise up together. And so, this is a brother who's been doing some phenomenal works in the community. He's aware of our history, very knowledgeable about our history. And, when he talks about the pyramids that we built in the past, he's a person who wants to see us replicate that today. He wants us to, do the works to understand the technologies that went into that accomplishment to replicate it today. And so that we can realize our greatness. And he believes that these are really important times for us as a people, for our men and for our women to be in tune with the changes that are happening so that we can elevate ourselves as a race. He recognizes that we are a race that is hated around the world. But you know what? He also recognizes that we can do better for self. He's a man who's had a phenomenal acting career in the 90s. He was at the Black Cat Cabaret as a warm-up for many TV shows such as Fry and Laurel and Red Dwarf. And he's been instrumental in the creation of the hit show, The Real McCoy. And many of us who are my age and older will remember very well the joy that we had watching the television and the Real McCoy show with Leo Muhammad and the all black cast, or mainly black cast. Phenomenal. And he was also a Hackney Empire comedian, and he was just so funny. I wish I had some of those video clips of Brother Leo, doing his comedy sketches at the Hackney Empire and Catford and other places. He's just phenomenal. And what was great about, what is great about our brother is that he's able to combine comedy with his education as well. And, he's an award-winning comedian, and he's received, numerous prizes and numerous awards for being the great that he is. During the 90s, he joined the Nation of Islam, and that was a turning point in his life. And it has brought about what he says has been a positive change in his life. It's made him determined to help motivate and inspire our people, and to show us that there is a new way, there is another way. And he's made a conscious decision to give up his comedy and everything so that he can serve the people, and he's serious about the works that he does. He will allow him the humor now and again, but he recognizes that we've got some harsh realities that we need to face as a people. And so also over the last 30 years, he's been touring the countries, giving lectures and teaching about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad through the Minister Farrakhan. And he's also, as he mentioned earlier, been doing his live stand-ups at Hyde Park Corner. Not everybody can do that, I tell you. And if you want to find and hear more from our brother Leo Muhammad, he's got his weekly Image a Nation show. That's every Thursday at 6:30 via Zoom or YouTube, okay? Go to the Nation of Islam London Study Group and you will find him there. There's so much more I could say about this wonderful brother, but let me leave it there for now, because we've eaten into an hour of our show already, and we have such an interesting topic for conversation that I want to make sure that we have got time to deliver. So I'm going to step out of the way and bring in our beloved brother, because he's got a message for the black man about the hidden role of the white woman. Over to you, brother Leo Muhammad.
Thank you so much, Sister Shanice, for such a wonderful introduction. And of course, yes, I'm very honored and privileged, as I said before, to have an opportunity to come onto your show and to have a brief conversation on this subject. It is a subject that we did recently on the Image a Nation show. And of course, this is my third appearance on the Sister Shanice show, which is why it is entitled Message to the Black Man, Part 3. And the subject is the hidden role of the white woman. We did the subject on the Image a Nation show because the inspiration for it really came from this story that came out of the UK very recently. This Lucy Letby, this nurse, who was found guilty of the murder of 7 children, I believe, and the attempted murder of at least another 6, with many, many more that they were not able to prove. But the reality is that this woman was killing children, killing babies in hospitals for many, many years, and she could not get herself arrested. And when I heard the story in the news, again, it was one of those moments when I said, I need to talk about this, simply because of the nature of this phenomena, where again, on one of the Image a Nation shows in the past, I broke down the movie American Psycho, where this white man was, again, a psychopath who was a serial killer, killing people left, right, and center. And even he got to a stage where he's killing so many people that he wanted to be caught. He wanted to confess. And as much as the man tried to confess, even going to the police, going to his business colleagues, nobody would take him seriously. Nobody would believe him. And so in the end, at the end of the movie, the man just said, well, I may as well just carry on killing people, because he couldn't get himself arrested. And you see, dear family, white privilege is such that my wife and I, we always laugh, because we say, you know, as Black people, you go into the supermarket and you'll have the security guard following you around, watching you. And we laughing to ourselves, because we say, yeah, while you're there busy watching Black people, you got the little old white woman over there. She's stealing, robbing you blind. But because you're so busy looking at us, you don't notice the real criminal in your store. And this is a phenomenon which I think that, you know, needs to be brought to the attention of Black people, because I think many of us, not all of us, but many of us have been caught up in this veneer of fragility that's been given to the white woman, whereby she is like an innocent party in the whole scheme of white supremacy. And we're busy looking at the white man, but not really appreciative of the role, the historical role that the white woman has played in the subjugation, in the murder of Black people, and in particular, Black men. You know, there's a whole series of videos that have come out in the last several years about white women who they now call Karens, the Karens. And what I don't like about that particular depiction is that it makes it sound like comedy, really, where these white women, you know, they call the police on Black men for just walking through a neighborhood, or for having a barbecue, or for whatever reason. There's so many of these videos that have gone viral. But what we should appreciate is that historically, those calls by white women to the authorities, to the police, or to the white community have ended in that Black person losing their life. You know, again, it reminds me of that movie, the famous movie with, what's her name? The chat show host, The Color Purple. I'm thinking about, what's her name? Oprah Winfrey, and what's the other actress's name? Whoopi Goldberg. Mm-hmm. They were the sort of big stars, and there were others in that movie, The Color Purple. But again, if you remember, in that movie, there was the scenario of the sort of Driving Miss Daisy scenario, where the Black woman was basically the handmaiden, the hand servant for this white woman. And when she dared to upset that white woman, the manner in which she was treated, and ultimately ended up, you know, being knocked unconscious and nearly killed, and then thrown into prison or whatever, leaving her with terrible injuries. And this is something that I think many of us as Black people, we are in a kind of denial about the role that the white woman has played and continues to play in the detrimental way in which Black people are ill-affected. And so I would encourage all of you, if you can, to purchase a book called Without Sanctuary. Without Sanctuary. This is a very, very powerful book where it shows you in excess, I think, of 100 images of lynchings that have taken place over the years of Black men, women, and children. And what it again details is some of the events that have taken place over the years where these lynchings were spectator sports, where hundreds of thousands of white people would get on trains, they would get in buses, they would get in cars, they would get on coaches to go to a lynching. And the white women and the white girls, they would dress in their Sunday bests to come and observe these lynchings. And many of these lynchings were precipitated by a white woman screaming rape, or a white woman crying that some offense had been committed against her by a black man. You know, there's a famous case called the Central Park Five, where these 5 black youth, basically at the time, I think it was in I've got it, a note of it here, 1989, when these young black men were basically rounded up and accused of raping this white woman who had been beaten, raped, and left in a coma for about 12 days. But you see, dear family, in the end, they all received between 6 and 13 years in prison, most of which they served before they were eventually found to be innocent and then completely exonerated. And I think they were given $40+ million in compensation or something like that. But none of that could ever compensate for the type of abuse and the type of shaming and the type of pain and suffering that these men had to endure, being completely innocent, but at the same time being railroaded into prison. And at the time, I think it was Donald Trump at the time, who was a businessman in New York, who took out full-page adverts calling for these men to, I think he spent a reported $85,000, which is the equivalent today of £130,000 on 4 full-page adverts in New York newspapers titled "Bring Back the Death Penalty, Bring Back Our Police." And this is what Donald Trump did. And by the way, when he ran for president, and he was questioned about this, now that the men have been completely exonerated, and everybody knows now that they were innocent, and that the semen or the sperm that was found on the woman at the time, everybody knew at the time that none of the semen or the sperm that was found on her matched any of the young men who were picked up, but nonetheless, they were still able to railroad them into prison, whatever. And it was later, much later, when the real criminal actually came forward and gave himself up. But by that time, the statute of limitations meant that he couldn't even be charged with the offense. But, you know, what struck me was that that white woman, she knew very well that it wasn't any of these, you see, but did she say anything? Did she? No, she was quite happy for these young men to be persecuted and to have their lives destroyed. And this is what really inspired me to talk about this, because it is a phenomena that is not looked at sufficiently and that we need to be mindful of. And the main inspiration for why I decided to talk on this was the fact that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in his teachings to us, he said these words, and I want you to think about this, dear family. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the last trick of the white man will be to give us his woman. The last trick of the white man will be to give us his woman. And I'm saying that, dear family, because you see, I know there's a lot of us now as black men in particular, we're so happy, we're so excited, because now we can run around with these white girls in our arms and whatever. And I know that as I say this, there'll be a lot of you who start frothing at the mouth and you'll be very angry and upset and whatever. But I have to tell you the truth. You see, in the end, I have to take and get your blood off my hands. So I have to tell you the truth. You can accept it or you can reject it. It's entirely up to you. But I've got to tell you, dear family, and I know you're going to say, well, you know, you've got this wonderful relationship with this white woman. You may very well have. And I'm not saying it's impossible for a black man to fall in love with a white woman, or vice versa, for a white man to fall in love with a black woman. I'm not saying it's impossible. You know, these things can happen. But you see, the problem with a lot of this interracial relationship stuff that's going on is that oftentimes what you have is the black man or the black person who's coming into that relationship We have been so demoralized and so disenfranchised and so brainwashed into thinking that we are inferior, and that in order for us to come up to par somehow, if we can just hook up with a white person and get their approval, or get them to love us, and get that togetherness with them, somehow that wipes out all of the history of oppression and degradation and tyranny that has gone before. And it means that we have transcended that situation and we're now in a much better place. I'm saying with deep humility, we're making a terrible, terrible mistake. And I'm saying to my brothers and sisters who are rushing headlong into these relationships, in the long term, they really do not work. And the only way they often work is because you've got to compromise yourself out of yourself in order for that relationship to work. You cannot be the original strong black man that you were born to be. You cannot be that righteous, upstanding black woman that you were created by Almighty God to be. You've got to become some facsimile. You've got to become some version of yourself to make yourself acceptable to that other group, that other entity. And I'm saying, dear family, this level of compromise, means that you can never, ever really be completely comfortable, because the level of compromise that you're having to make that relationship work. It's bad enough, Sister Shanice, those of us who are from the Caribbean trying to hook up with our brothers and sisters from the African continent. Even that's fraught with difficulty. It's difficult for a Bayesian brother or sister to hook up with a Jamaican brother or sister. It's difficult for a St. Lucian to hook up with a Ghanaian, because there are differences that we have to overcome, and there has to be compromising in order to make that work. And this is, again, why historically courtship was such a powerful thing in the Black community. While we had these formalized rituals that we had to go through in order to establish beautiful long-term relationships. Not this thing where you meet somebody at a bus stop now and that same night you're in the bed together, and then there's an assumption that now we're partners. And the next thing, she has a baby by accident, and it's whoops. And, he doesn't know whether he should take responsibility or not. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. And it's all very, very haphazard and very, very accidental. But we have to return to a much more structured and formalized system of courtship, where that word courtship, it's a combination of two words, court and ship. You have to take the person that you are interested in to court, literally. And you have to go on a voyage of discovery. In other words, you have to give evidence in chief. You have to find out who that person is, their family, their background, who was their last partner, if they had one, etc., etc. This is the court part. Then you have to cross-examine. Courtship is tough, man. And by the way, whilst all this courting and this voyage is going on, there's no bed stuff. There's no bed play. This is why, again, back in the day, we would chaperone our young people. If they went out together, there would be an adult or two with them or whatever, so that, they could have beautiful conversations or whatever, but there'd be no disappearing into the bed. And I've got to say to the sisters, sisters, this act of sex, this sexual intercourse, it is so powerful. It is so powerful that there is hardly a woman, and I'm using my words very carefully, there's hardly a woman, because there are some women now, unfortunately, who have become almost as callous as men, because we can be very callous. as men. I'm just going to tell you some truth today. Okay, I'm not going to mix it up or play around with it, but there's hardly a woman who can open herself to a man unemotionally. It is such a powerful thing, and it's such a heavy thing to do, that most women are deeply affected by the act of sexual intercourse. It's not something that a woman can enter into lightly. And so as a result of that, once you enter into it, you become intimately and emotionally involved with that other person. Whether that person is a good person or a bad person, once you enter into that, emotionally, you are no longer able to see straight and perceive reality on a mathematical, calculating basis, because your emotions are all involved now because you've committed that act with that person. I hope people are able to follow what I'm saying. This is why you don't enter into such an act lightly. Now, on the other hand, I've got to tell you, sisters, got to tell you the truth. As men, as brothers, we can do that, and we can do it like it's like we're eating an ice lolly, and then we can get up and go about our business, and it can have no effect on us. I'm not saying that all men are like that and that there's no emotional involvement. Surely there is, if it's a genuine love relationship. But I'm saying that men, as opposed to women, we can do that with impunity. It doesn't affect us the same way, because we are not a recipient of anything. We are giving while you are receiving as a female. This is very, very important to understand. And so, I'm saying all of that to say relationships, human relationships and sexual relationships in particular, are not things that we can enter into lightly. And when we, are hooking up with white women, and again, by the way, we were talking a minute ago, Sister Shanice, about meat and things like that. I'm a vegetarian. Every now and then I'll have a little bit of fish, but really I don't eat any dead flesh. I'm a vegetarian. I've been like that now for in excess of 30 years. And people must understand that you are what you eat. And so you will I've heard black men, talking about they don't eat this and they don't eat that. But you're with a woman who eats all of that. And you are exchanging bodily fluids, whether it be kissing or any of these things that we do. Understand that, you become a part of that other person, that other person becomes a part of you. You know what makes me sad, sister, when I think about, and I see little children walking down the road today in their school uniforms, boys and girls, and you can clearly see that they're in a relationship. And I'm thinking, where are the parents? Because how can you let your little child, who is, 12, 13, 14, 15, on the street, you can see that they're with this boy. They got this silly little skirt on that they're supposed to be in school, but they're dressed like they're literally going to a nightclub, or they're prostituting themselves or something like that. And it's scary to see that, because I'm thinking, as a grown man, me and my wife, we struggle, my dear sister, on a daily basis to maintain our relationship on a emotional and financial level, and all of the different things that goes into a relationship. It's not an easy thing to be married and to look after each other and to maintain the man's duty to maintain his wife and his children and all of the responsibilities that goes with having a woman in your life, having a man in your life. Imagine you're 15 now, 16, 17, and you're in this full-blown relationship. What idea do you have? What worldly knowledge do you have to be having all of that emotional baggage that you're carrying around? And then we wonder why the young people are in such dire straits. They're in so much trouble because everything has just gone. It's a free-for-all now. There are no rules. There are no barriers to anything. Anything goes. Anything can happen. Children are having children. And so what I'm saying is that this relationship that we have is very, very important, that we understand that we should be striving hard to be with somebody who we're genuinely compatible with. And the more we keep going out and hooking up with people who really not like us, and we're fighting like hell to make it work, because very quickly when you're in these mixed relationships, black and white or whatever, a lot of problems come up. You know the amount of black people who hook up with a white person, and one of the first things the white person, especially the white girl, the first thing the white girl is telling the black boy that she's hooked up with is, my dad won't like you, or my mom won't accept it. But that black person, they're saying, no, I'll make them like me. You understand? This is where the compromising starts, where now you're going to have to become like a little Sambo, where they can rub their hand in your hair, and you're not like the rest of them. You're different, Sam, because you know what I mean. You're the one with my daughter, and you're not one of those radical blacks. You're a moderate black, or whatever that means. My point is that when you study the history of what has happened to us, and by the way, it's all codified in the Bible and everything. That's what the story of Samson and Delilah is all about. Okay, it's not, Delilah was a Caucasian and Samson was the original man, and she went with him in order to find out his secret, in order to turn him over to the enemy, the Philistines. This is what that story is telling you all about. Okay, there's another story in the Bible that says the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and took them as wives. The sons of God, this is the original man, saw the daughters of men, white men, saw the daughters of white men, that they were fair, and took them as wives. The Bible is a very powerful book when you understand how to break it down and how to read it. And we're given our exegesis from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because these are men who have been inspired by God to give us the truth of these scriptures, so that today we understand them in the contemporary, as opposed to reading these books as if they're history books and not realizing they're books of prophecy talking about things that are unfolding today. And so this black man, white woman syndrome, if you remember back in the day, we would be killed just for looking at her underclothes on a washing line. But now we're all excited because we can parade her up and down the street. We can, seemingly do whatever we want with her. And the messenger said, the last trick will be to give her to us. But I'm a people watcher. And the amount of times I see black men with white women, and what I do is I look at who's looking at them. And I just one day, not that long ago, in Shepherd's Bush, I saw this poor brother with his white girl. And what came to my mind first and foremost was Beauty and the Beast. And what I was looking at him, and I could see pure beauty. He was a beautiful brother. And I looked at her and I saw a beast. And I'm just telling you the truth. I'm telling you what I saw. I know you won't like it. I know some of you are going to be all angry and vexed or whatever. Oh, Leo, how could you say that? I'm explaining something here, because it's only a beast that can tell a lie on a man or a boy and get that man or boy killed for nothing, when they did nothing. This is what happened to Emmett Till in 1955, when the white woman accused him of whistling at her. Or what was said is that the little brother had a lisp, and he must have said something in her presence, and it was interpreted by her as, oh, he whistled at her. And for that, that young boy, 14 years old, was murdered, mutilated, and left in a swamp. And his mother, when she saw the condition of her son, she decided to have an open casket so that the world could see what had been done to her son for doing nothing, but a white woman who later on confessed that he had done nothing to her. And I could tell you 1,000 stories like that, where we have lost our lives because a white woman has screamed rape or screamed some abuse that some black men had done to her. So the other day in the bush, I was looking at these two, and what I saw was a lorry. A lorry came along, and there was a lorry driver who was stopped at the traffic lights, white man, and the way he was looking at this couple, and I could see in that white man's mind, he was so angry. He was so angry looking at this black man all over this white girl. And in my mind, I said, brother, you better be very careful, because these men, they don't like to see us running up and down the streets with their woman. And because of political correctness, because of this season of, what do you call it, wokeness and whatever, we think that we've arrived now with her. But this white man, he's getting more and more frustrated every day because he wants his woman back. And I've got to be honest, as a brother, when I see my sisters with the white man, I don't like it either. And I want to see our sisters come back home, you see. And there's a scripture that says that in that day, everyone will have to return to their own vine and fig tree. That's talking about the separation of people. In the Holy Quran, it says that in that day, they will be separated. So I know that we think that, oh, we're all in a love fest now, and it's everybody's together, and it's going to be kumbaya into the sunset. No, it's not going to happen, dear family. That's why it doesn't matter how long this process goes on. You see every day a new issue of race pops up. Race. They tried to bury it. They tried to make up. We were told that we were in a post-racial society when Barack Obama came to power, right? When he entered the White House with his black family. No, dear family. That's just illusion. That's just an illusion. And he wasn't there to represent black people. He was there to represent the white power structure. He was the black face on a white system. That's all he was there to do. And so we have not entered into a post-racial world. The reality is that we will be separated, and the white woman is very dangerous if we don't recognize her role in getting us into a place where the Philistines can come in and destroy us. Frank Bruno, you know, I think her name was Laura, the one that he was married to. When the time came for her to dump him, she hired the most expensive divorce lawyer in the country. The same one who got the divorce for Diana from Charles, that's the same one who acted on behalf of her. And all that money that Frank earned as a boxer, putting his life on the line and getting knocked out several times before ultimately he achieved the world championship. And he didn't hold it for very long because Tyson came and took it right back from him. But all of that struggle, all of that pain that he went through, ultimately they took the vast majority of his money. That's why you see Frank Bruno ended up going into a mental institution where he basically nearly lost his mind. And again, if we don't understand what happens with your Tiger Woods and O.J. Simpson, I mean, there's so many, the money goes right back into the white community. This is how it works. They give us all of these footballers today, these young boys, they're earning all this big money. And, you know, some of us are so excited because, oh, this brother is getting so many hundreds of thousands of pounds a week or whatever. As you said earlier on, Sister Shanice, why are these celebrities, why are they not opening shops in the black community? Did you know that they've got managers and lawyers and accountants around them who don't look like us? And they are told in no uncertain terms, do not invest your money in anything like that. put your money here, keep your money here, and they invite them to these social events, these parties and whatever, and they're approached by a lily white girl, and before you know it, that's their partner, and then that's their wife, and that's to secure that money so that in the event that that one falls foul of the system, that money comes right back, and that one is left broke and destitute. That one is basically out of doors. And it's only then, oftentimes, that you see they come running to the Black community, you know, and they might start talking about racism. But while they are so-called up there with their white partners, somehow they're not Black at that moment in time because they believe that they've arrived and that they're being accepted. And so, you know, I'm pointing these things out because I think for the vast majority of us, we know what the white man has done, has been doing for countless years against us, but we don't necessarily appreciate the role that the white woman has played and is playing still. And that's not to say, and let me just be clear, that there aren't good white women, that there aren't good white men. There's a lot of good people of that color, of that race. But I think it was Muhammad Ali that was talking about this issue one time, and the white man who was interviewing him was saying, oh, but, you know, surely we can't all be devils, and, you know, aren't there no good ones or whatever? And Muhammad Ali broke it down in this manner, in this fashion. You know, if there are 10,000 snakes coming to bite me and 200 of them are poison, are not poisonous, 200 of them are grass snakes who are harmless in the sense of they're not venomous, but they all look the same. What am I going to do? Am I going to open my door and let the 10,000 in, hoping that the 200 grass snakes are going to come together and prevent the other, you know, 800 sorry, 8,000 venomous snakes from killing me or biting me? No, I'm going to close my door and keep all of them out because I can't distinguish between who is good and who is bad. And the reality is that we always hear, Sister Shanice, when it comes to dealing with the Metropolitan Police and many of these other police forces up and down the country, that it's a small contingent of bad apples. But then I always ask myself, my God, these bad apples must be highly mobile, because the amount of us who have met them, the amount of us who have experienced them from the 70s all the way up to this time, and not just the 70s, in the 60s, they were killing Kelsa Coltrane in Notting Hill, and there was race riots and by the way, these race riots were white people attacking Black people, okay, for no other reason than the fact of our color. And we can go back and back and back, and you will see that nothing has changed. It's been going on for a very, very long time. And again, the white woman has always been there playing her role. She was often the one that came to the door when we would knock on the door to seek a room, and the sign would say, no Blacks, no Irish, no dogs. She would be the one oftentimes who would make the excuse, you know, that there is no room. And then later on, a white person would go to the same place and there would be a room. So this is the reality. I thought it was important to break this down because I think sometimes we give her a pass in the sense that we think, you know, she is the fairer sex, which she is. You know, the Black woman is the fairer sex when it comes to, when you make a comparison between the male and the female. The woman is a very, very special entity in life on the planet. The female is not like the male, and the male is not like the female. The female is highly, highly favored in the eyes of God. And that's why he uses her to procreate at the species and to keep humanity going. If it wasn't for her womb, we wouldn't be here. And so whether the woman is black or white, she is very, very special in the eyes of God. But make no mistake about it, if she buys into a system of white supremacy and white oppression and white tyranny, she becomes a part of that system. She becomes, Margaret Thatcher was a wicked demon. Don't make no mistake about it. Hillary Clinton, she is worse than a lot of these others. She laughed and boasted when they murdered Muammar Gaddafi. She said, "We came, we saw, and he died." And then she cackled like a witch on camera. No shame. So the white woman, she is as responsible for much of this tyranny that we have endured and we have encountered over the years as the white man. And this is, for me, something very important that Black people should know, because again, you're in the relationship with her now, brother. And many of you out there, you will know exactly what I'm talking about, because when you had that relationship with her and it broke up, what did she do? What did she do? Did she allow you to come and see the children? Or did she run off with the children? Did she, are you on good terms with your children? Are you able to still see them? Or are you now persona non grata? Do your children hate you, or do they love you? Because there's a lot of these relationships which are absolutely broken today, shattered today. And there's a hell of a lot of pain and regret because of the way in which these Black men in particular, some Black women as well, but Black men in particular have been treated by white women and the white system and power structure, especially if you end up going through those courts. And when she takes you to court and the system sees your Black face, you don't stand a chance. You don't stand a chance. And so, I'm talking about things which have happened. I'm talking about things which are going on today, and I'm talking about tomorrow if we keep pushing ourselves into these relationships and ignoring our own Black women, ignoring our own Black men. It is critically important, brothers, that you find yourself a good Black woman. It is critically important, my dear sisters, that you find yourself a good Black man, and that we try our very best to return to a structured, organized way of life, where the family becomes predominant again. The idea of a Black man, a woman, and child is phenomenal, man. And stop the abuse, brothers, of the sisters. Stop the deceptive relationships where we're with her 1 minute, but then we're with another one, then we're with another one, then we're with another one. And she's just bitter because she can't trust us. Our word don't mean nothing. And so, I'm hoping that this message is resonating with some of us, that we understand that it's a necessary part of what has to be said in this day and time, because if we don't understand that she is now being given to us, the messenger said she is the last trick. So when you see that now you can have total access to the white woman, there don't appears to be any barriers. You may be thinking that's because of you're so handsome. She just can't resist you. Oh, it's because you've got all that money. You drive a Ferrari, or you've got yourself a nice Bentley. You made some money, and this white woman is just fawning over you. She can't get enough of you, and you think you've arrived. Let me tell you something. She has been given to you. She's been allowed to you, and you are being tricked into a situation where you will not be the winner in the end. In the end, you may find yourself in a very, very bad place, because this is the history. Again, I mentioned O.J. Simpson, so many of these famous Black men who thought that they had arrived with these Caucasian partners. And then when it goes wrong, it goes wrong indeed. And then all the money, all the wealth goes back to her family, her side of the equation, and you're left destitute, naked, and out of doors. And so I hope something of what I've said here is understood. This woman, Lucy Letby, she was murdering children for years, and she could just not get herself arrested. There were even consultants, doctors or surgeons who were very suspicious of this woman, and they were reporting her. And even after she was reported, even on one occasion she was reported, and she was so brazen, and she had the audacity to get her parents to complain to the hospital, and the individual who had complained about her, who I think was a person of color, by the way, that person was forced to apologize. This is the woman's murdering babies, but the person was forced to apologize to her because of, basically slandering her and accusing her of behavior that was highly suspicious around the demise of these children. And so this is what happens in this world. Caucasian people can commit the most heinous crimes, and they come under no suspicion, hardly any suspicion. You see all these cases now of members of the Metropolitan Police who have been guilty of rape, murder, in office, whilst they're in uniform, whilst they're in the pay of the system. And these things are slowly but surely coming to light, because whatever is done in the dark ultimately will come into the light. But it's only now that we're learning about the level of corruption and cover up, because again, like I said, people report these things, people see what's going on, people discover things, then they try to blow the whistle, and oftentimes the whistleblower becomes targeted. The whistleblower is the one who gets punished and destroyed, have their careers destroyed or whatever, because it's a closed shop of corruption. And this is the world of the Caucasian. And when it comes to the Caucasian woman, she's often given a pass on most things, because she is the standard of beauty according to this world. She is depicted as innocent and fragile. All she has to do in a confrontation with a black man is, all she has to do is start crying. Just start crying, and the chances are that black man could find himself getting killed. This is literally the reality still in 2023, the world in which we live. So I'm really here to send a warning to the black man. This is Message to the Black Man, Part 3. I'm really here to send a warning to us that I know you think you've arrived because you've got her on your arm, and maybe you've even had children with her and whatever, and she's expressed undying love for you, because you're not like the rest of them. You're different, and you are happy. But I'm saying, be careful, because there's a history here, and that history is written in blood. There's been so many of us, they used to take us out of the police station, take us literally out of the police station. Most of the lynchings, there's a book called 5,000 Lynchings, okay? And when you read that book, I read through that whole book, and I'm saying the vast majority of those lynchings, there's 5,000 lynchings depicted in this book, and the vast majority of these lynchings, they began in the police station. Imagine that. So the authorities were in cahoots with the mob. So they would take us, and we're not talking about ancient history here. We're talking about lynchings that were in the 30s, in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. They were still dragging black people out of police cells and stringing them up over lampposts or trees or whatever, burning them at the stake and doing all manner of evil, cutting off our private parts and stuffing them in our mouth, or taking them home for souvenirs, cutting off our fingers, keeping them on their mantelpiece as souvenirs. These are things that we had to go through and had to endure. And oftentimes it was as a direct result of a white woman screaming rape or screaming some other form of abuse from a young black boy or a young or an old black man. It didn't matter the age. It happened to us when we were 80 years old. It happened to us when we were 10 years old. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter the age. We would be destroyed as an entity, as a human reality, on the basis of any accusation or any lie that she could muster. Even, like I said, just mere tears would be sufficient to cause one of us to lose our lives. And so I'm just sending out a warning that it's time to go to our own. It's time to take another look at that black woman, brother. You really don't know what you're missing. She is the best woman for us. She is the best woman on the planet. It's going to be difficult enough, as I said earlier on, if she's from another country, she's from another, island. That's difficult enough, much less you're going with a white woman with all of that history, that background that you may choose to ignore, but it's highly relevant in an intimate relationship where now you're going to be spending the rest of your life with that person. And if it's a case where you're not interested in a long-term relationship, but you just want to go through a whole bunch of white girls because they're easy, this is the language that is used, that's even fraught with even more danger. Because who's her brother? Who's her brothers? Who are you upsetting? Who's she gonna, when you abuse her enough, who's she gonna turn to? Is she gonna go to the police and say that you actually raped her? I'm just warning us, man. We are in a lot of danger with this occupation of going after the slave masters' children and trying to make them our mates. I know I've upset some people, but that's really not the intention. But I'll say this to you. You know, a good farmer, he can't plant no seeds unless he plows up the ground. Okay, so you can take it from me this evening that what I'm doing is I'm plowing the ground. Okay, I'm upsetting the ground. I'm turning it upside down so that a seed can be planted in your mind. And one of these days, if it's not today, one of these days, something is going to happen in your life. And that seed will begin to germinate. And you'll remember what Brother Leo Muhammad said from the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, when I told you, man, get out of that relationship. Do not stay in there, especially when you know that you are compromising yourself over and over and over again to make it work. And you know in your heart of hearts, it's not genuine love. Imagine our relationships with these people, most of these built on myth. You know, they want us, they want the brothers because they've heard about our prowess. They've heard about our manhood. Oh, we're so big. I mean, it's crude, but this is what a lot of this stuff is built on. They see us dance, man, the way he moves. So we're exotic. They've got to get a taste of that exotica. Okay, same thing with the black woman. The white man now, back in the day, there was a time when he wouldn't dare to look at the black woman. But now, ooh, he's brazen now. Don't matter how ugly and decrepit he is, he will go after the best of us, the best of our women. And unfortunately, many of our women, all he has to do is snap his finger. He's got a bit of money, he's got a house, or he's got a car, or he's got a bank account or whatever, and off we go. And we think we've arrived. I'm warning us. I'm warning us. It's not a genuine relationship. It really isn't. Not if it's based on exotica. Not if it's based on she's an Amazonian queen kind of thing. You know, like, you know, you're just, it's the way you move and whatever. You see, relationships can't be built on that kind of nonsense. There has to be spiritual connection. It has to be deeper. There has to be a genuine desire to see freedom, justice, and equality for that woman, for that man. And sisters, you who've got your white boyfriend or your white husband, ask him sincerely, does he love your brother? Does he love your father? You'll see his face change. See if he really loves, if he really loves you, does he love your dad? Does he love your brother? Does he love your uncle? Yeah, you'll see a difference come out of him there. Because again, oftentimes for us to hook up with who we've hooked up with, we have to literally leave our own families. We have to leave our own families. Even if they don't say so, eventually they'll move you away and your family will become more distant because you've got to join another clan. So, you know, that's really what I wanted to share, Sister Shanice. I hope it makes sense. It's not, I'm not apologizing, but I'm just saying for those who want to make the accusation, it's really not racism. It's not based on hatred. It's just facts. It's just actual facts. This is the history of black and white is fraught with difficulty and a lot of evil has been done. And, you know, I didn't do it. You know, you want to blame me, you want to call me the racist. I'm just a youngster. I only arrived on the planet a few days ago. This stuff has been going on long before Leo Muhammad, and unfortunately, it may be going on long after I've gone. So, this is the reality of what we're talking about today. We're not making up stories. We're telling the truth, the pure, unadulterated truth. Thank you, Sister Shanice, for allowing me to say those words.
We thank you, beloved. We thank you so, so much. It's so important that we have these conversations because, you know, sometimes we need to have the conversations in the family and we don't. Someone actually asked in the chat, you know, I think they call it swirling. It said, this was Black Magic. It says, my question is, what do we do if a friend or a relative is swirling? Do we say something or stay quiet? You know, and so it's so important that we have these conversations because the message needs to get out there. I mean, I just believe that, you know, God, our creator, made the black man and the black woman, the white man and the white woman, the Chinese man and the Chinese woman. He didn't do that by accident.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was sending a powerful message to us as a people, but we think, you know, we can just do what we want. You know, you look to the animal kingdom and the bird kingdom. I think I've heard you talk on this before. You know, you don't get the bluebirds going with the blackbirds and all that.
They don't, my sister. They
They
don't.
understand the importance of preserving their own insect world or animal world, or, you know, they reproduce in their likeness.
That's right.
But we want to create something exotic, something different. And that which we create further down the road turns around and is our worst enemy.
That's
Look
right.
at the Arabs today. The Arabs are just mixed race people.
That's right. That's right.
And look what they did to us for over 1,400 years.
Mm-hmm.
Enslaved us.
That's right.
Committed the most heinous crimes against us.
Mm-hmm.
We brought them into existence.
And are still very racist today against us, sister.
Until today.
To this very day.
Yes.
And just very quickly on that swirling, you see, the question, what should we say? What should we do? You know, I would say it like this, you know, if it's a friend of yours and you know somebody who is involved in that, I wouldn't say that you should necessarily interfere in the sense that you should be trying to condemn them or anything like that, or being showing a negative face to them. But what I would suggest is if it's a genuine friend of yours and somebody that you care about and love, then you should ask them a series of questions. That's all. Just prick their conscience. Just ask them if it's serious, if they know what they're doing, if they've considered all of the pitfalls. You know, it's a wonderful thing to ask people questions, because what you force them to do is to think. Take them beneath the surface of that relationship and just ask them those probing questions that force them to contemplate the reality of what they've decided to do. That's all. At least you give them an opportunity to think about what it is, because oftentimes what happens is in these situations is that you know, we've got so-called friends. If you're a genuine friend, you would definitely pose that question. You would definitely want to know, you know, what your friend is doing or what they're up to. But unfortunately, we don't really do that in this world. We think, oh well, I'll just leave it. Or if we do say something, we approach it too aggressively in the wrong way, and maybe we try to dictate to somebody what their relationship should be, and that's also wrong. So I would suggest pose a series of questions designed to make the person question what they're doing and think about what they're doing, and then they may come to some answers for themselves. And then the final thing I would say is, see, it's no good criticizing other people's choices and relationships until we ourselves become an example of what it is that we are suggesting to them would be a better alternative. So make sure you check yourself and what's your current dynamic. See, because if you can present a beautiful dynamic to that person and show them that, hold on a minute, black on black love is beautiful, you know, maybe they might take inspiration from what they see you doing. And when you question them, they may be more favorable in a response rather than you being, I don't know, maybe a single person who's running up and down with a whole bunch of other people trying to give them advice or suggest things to them. That's what I would suggest.
Great advice there. Yes, answer questions and prick them so that they can begin to think. Because as you said, you know, we're so influenced and indoctrinated through the education, the miseducation system, what we see on the media. You know, they're pushing you, as you say, they're giving us our men, their women. They're pushing them at us. We see them in the adverts. We see them on the television, you know, all the time. Anytime I look at an advert or anything, you know.
Isn't it crazy now, sister? There's hardly an ad. Isn't it crazy now where there's hardly an advert that is not mixed race in some form or fashion? That's not by accident.
Yeah. And
it's totally by design.
Yeah, it's influencing the minds of our young people from a very young age. And it's suggesting to them that this is the type of relationship that they ought to be in. And so if we're not addressing it, which we don't, because a lot of us shy away from talking about it, or there's a large number of us that think, oh, you can love who you want, it doesn't matter. Exactly. And as someone mentioned in the chat, and I did a whole show on it, and it's in one of my videos, the Caribbean race here in the UK is dying out.
That's right.
We are not producing in our likeness anymore. We have brought over 500,000 mixed race children into this country within the last 40, 50 years.
Wow.
To the detriment of our own. We are dying. Earlier in one of my shows, someone rang in and they was actually asking a question, and I forgot this answer didn't come to mind. But he was a young person. He rang up and he was quite, you know, anxious about what we were experiencing in our community. And him as a young man, he was saying he went to university, and the hell that he was fetching in the workplace, and some of that hell was coming from us as our people as well towards the young black men. And so there's all this trauma. And then he was saying we used to have communities, but where have all our people gone? Where are the Caribbeans? Where have they all gone? And we were talking about those of us that have been dispersed, you know.
Gentrification.
And the gentrification, but also we've bred ourselves out of existence. That's what we're doing. We're breeding ourselves out of existence. And they predicted that in 50 years' time, there won't hardly be a Caribbean community in the UK anymore. And so if we really loved ourselves, if we value who we are, we would want to reproduce in our likeness, but they've made us hate who we are. You know, and we've been indoctrinated to hate ourselves. And that goes right back to the beginning of the discussion that we was having about, you know, shopping in the Asian shops and buying all those produces, you know, to change our appearance, because we've been indoctrinated to hate who we really are.
That's right.
But, you know, there's so much more I would love. I mean, there were so many questions that I pulled out and points that I want to thank everybody in the chat for the conversation you've been having. It's absolutely wonderful. People were adding names to your list. They were adding, you know, mixed celebrities such as Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan and the footballers that have been cleared out. by their white girlfriends, and we don't understand the economics as well. Actually, we was talking about economics earlier. Oh my gosh, we're 1 minute away from the top of the hour. Brother Leo Mohammed, I mean, we absolutely need to have you back again. The next conversation, I think we have to continue the conversations about relationships, because
Yes.
you know, we don't talk about it enough in our community. The Asians talk about it. They're very clear to their women and their men what
Very
sort of
clear.
person they ought to be bringing home or not bringing home. And if you can't find yourself as an Asian boy or an Asian girl, they will find one for you, and
Absolutely.
vice versa. You know, and you know, the Chinese are very clear about to each other. You know, they what sort of partner they ought to be bringing home. No other race dates outside of their race to the extent that we do. We are becoming, you know, we're complicit in our own genocide.
I mean, just think about it, Sister Shanice, because the point that you're making is so critically important. Honestly, do you realize, do we appreciate that 99.9% of Chinese people are with other Chinese people? 99.9% of even white people are with other white people. And you can go through the list, the Asians marry Asians. Every now and then, you'll see a Chinese with a white, you'll see an Asian with a Chinese or whatever. You do get those little crossovers, but not wholesale. We are the only people on the planet who wholesale. More black men are with other women other than black women than they are with black women. That's a problem. What that says is that there is a pathology here, which is so detrimental, because we are suffering from self-hatred, and we've been convinced that progress means that we've got to be with someone other than ourselves. And by the black women, they're rapidly catching up with the black men in terms of being with someone other than their own. And this is a real problem, because it's real self-hatred. Yeah. We're the only people who do that. You see this Ali Bongo, who they overturned the other day. You see his wife? Yeah. Yeah. And then we wonder why the man has got he's more beholden to France than he is to Africans, and why he can keep his people impoverished while he robs all of that money out of the country. Yeah. It's not an accident.
His son also, who he was lining up to take over the country and the running of the country, who they found all that money, you know, it was his chief of staff who had all the
money in the house.
Yeah, the son is with a white woman as well.
Yeah, it's not accident.
Mixed race children. I mean, if we don't wake up fast, in 50 years' time, Africa will be run by Europeans again.
That's right, beloved. That's right, my sister.
Wow. I certainly hope that you will accept our invitation to return to talk about relationships, because
whenever you're ready, we will do Message to the Black Man Part 4, and it will be on relationships, my dear sister.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. We need to have these conversations, family. I know how difficult it is for you to have the conversations in your home. So when you know that our beloved Leo Mohammed is going to be on the Sister Shanice show, just get those family members to tune in, and we'll send the message out there to them. Ian Wright was also mentioned in the list. Major disappointment he was to us as African women, and the list goes on. But, you know, because of time, we're going to have to leave it there. Brother Leo Mohammed, as always, it's been an absolute honor and privilege to have you on the show, to hear you leave a message with us. It's just so powerful, because we're talking about, you know, the survival of our race. Nothing is more important than the survival of our race. And it all starts with our choices, the choices that we make about who our partner is going to be. The choice that we make, the choice that you make, family, will determine whether or not our race continues to survive into the future, or whether we continue to create ones who don't look like us, don't like us, and will be our enslavers again in time to come. The choice is ours to make. So let's make the right choices. Brother Leo, you made the right choice. You have a beautiful queen by your side. Sister Claudia, we rise you up and keep rising. Keep doing the great works, and we'll be tuning in tomorrow to
Image a Nation. Image a Nation.
A Nation.
Image a Nation.
Image
6:30 on Zoom and YouTube, and look forward to seeing you all very soon. Thank you so much, my dear sister.
We thank you. Keep up the great works. Thank you to everyone in the audience for tuning in. Thank you for your interaction. Thank you for your love gifts as well. We love you. More love, more strength, more good man. If you don't have a partner, find yourself a black partner, okay? Bye for now. Sister Shanice, out of here. See you next strong. We have, who we have next strong? I think it's Brother Franklin Jones. So